welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. And I'm super excited to have Miss Lindsay Boosinger with us today. What's up, Lindsay?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. It's doing good. It's been a little while since we first talked about putting this together and actually doing it. But I met you, I think, for the first time January of 2021, right? You
Yep.
came down to Columbus for an NAEA boot camp that we put on.
Yep.
And that was the first time we met. And then shortly, were we doing Clubhouse at that time, or was it right after?
I feel like it was before, during, or after. It was in January.
Yeah. So then right after that, we created the Central Ohio Real Estate Club and the Daily Real Estate Huddle, and you started jumping on there and helping us grow that, even though you're not in Central Ohio, right?
Right.
But and over the past year, I got to get to know you more and better and become friends, and got to watch you grow and your business take off. So I appreciate you coming on today. Tell us a little bit about kind of where you're at, what market you're in.
Yeah, so I always say, like, the Cleveland area. I'm about 30 minutes south of Cleveland, Ohio. And I kind of am all over the place as far as, like within an hour of Medina where I live. So yeah, that's like where I try and stick to.
It's so funny because Northeast Ohioans are always like, well, I'm close to. So like I grew up south of Youngstown, right? In some small town that no one knows of. And we'd be like, where are you from? I'm like, just south of Youngstown. And then, you move up. I moved up to Madison, which is up on the lake east of Cleveland. And they're like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, east of Cleveland, like Northeast Ohioans never actually tell you their city.
I know, that's so true, because half the time I'm like, why am I going to say Medina? Nobody knows Medina. Like,
yeah. It's so fun. And you're with Howard Hanna.
Yes, with Howard Hanna since end of 2014.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and how I like to start all of our Tell Me More podcasts is really going back to childhood. I believe that, our experiences growing up have a huge impact on, our adult life and in our business life. So tell us, and I got to see some of those cute little photos of Lindsay growing up, she shared with us. But tell us about growing up, right? What was life like? Were parents entrepreneurs? Did they have their own business? Was it, hey, we're gonna do, work 9 to 5, W-2, factory, go to college? Kind of what was that like?
So I would like to think that I had a pretty blessed upbringing. My parents, they were both 9 to 5ers, Monday through Friday, not entrepreneurs, but they were always like very good with money. They made sure that we were able to have everything we needed and have great experiences too. So, growing up, let's see. So I grew up a little bit, pretty close to where I am now, just a little bit further north. And it was a huge city. And the high school was even bigger. So I actually went to a public grade school, and then my parents pulled me out at 4th grade, and they're like, you're going to a Catholic school. And I was like, we're not going to be friends anymore. So went to Catholic school 4th through 8th. That's where some of those fabulous pictures that I shared with you are from. I always tell people I had like a 13-year awkward phase, like potentially even longer. But I was involved in sports a little bit. I think I played basketball for like 3 or 4 years. For whatever reason, I just never, I think it was probably my mindset at the time. I never really enjoyed school. I hated it. Maybe it was going from public to Catholic to public again, because in high school, I chose to go to a public high school. But I always had friends and stuff, but I don't know. It just wasn't, school wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So that kind of spiraled into college. I did go to the local community college for many years, wasted a lot of my parents' money. Um, I thought at first, so I was working actually in daycare at the time. And so I thought early childhood education was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I loved kids. You know, I was an aunt since the age of 12. So they're
What was
like,
that like?
oh my gosh. I mean, there's some funny, awkward pictures of me and my nephew when I was 12, like, 'cause I had cut my hair really short and yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
But, so, that kinda like forced me to grow up, I think, having like that responsibility. But so I was working at a daycare. I thought I wanted to do early childhood. I took a few classes and then I kind of started to learn how underpaid the people in that profession are.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I wouldn't really be able to have the life I wanted, on that salary or, whatever.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you chose that because
I know.
you didn't like school.
I didn't like school, but I love kids.
Yeah.
Like, kids are my passion. Like, if they paid more, I would maybe even consider going back to it. But so then from there I was like, okay, nursing. So I took like some nursing classes. Then I realized I didn't have the stomach for that.
Yeah.
And there was one other, I think, oh, dental hygiene. That was another one. I was like, okay, maybe if I can't do the nursing, I'll do dental hygiene. Um, didn't like that either. So,
Was was college a requirement in your household?
um, yeah, kind of like it wasn't like my parents never said to me, you have to go to college.
Yeah.
But it was kind of implied.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's how mine was. It was like, okay, you got military, or college, but it wasn't like you have to, but like you
Right.
said, kind of like, this is the expectation.
Yes,
And I think
exactly,
that's a lot of,
exactly.
like, people in our age range, right? That's kind of how we all probably felt, It was kinda just like the next
Yep.
thing that you did, but I wanna
Mhm.
kinda back up a second
Yeah.
because we have something in common that you went to 3 different schools
Mhm.
technically, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Growing up. I went to 3 different schools growing up. Mine was K through 2nd, 3rd through 8th, and 9th through 12. I went to 3 different public schools. I'm always curious when I hear people talk about that go through that experience. How was that for you? What, like, culture shock, obviously, right? You're going, public to private, and then private back to public. And what was it? What's north of Medina? Twinsburg, so like
Strongsville.
Strongsville. Okay, so
Yep.
and then you have, I'm sure your Catholic school was smaller, right? And then you have
Yeah.
that big shock of like, okay, I'm going to a bigger public school now.
Yep.
How did you handle and manage always being, and I wouldn't say always, being the new kid at schools? Like, did you know people in while you were in in private school that were already in the public school system? Like, did you have friends like through sports already, or how was that transition?
You know, I have a hard time remembering when I first got into 4th grade, because that's when I went to the private school. I feel like I knew some people that I went to, the public grade school with, but not that many. And quite honestly, that was the hardest part for me was, trying to reacclimate, get to know new people, make new friends,
Yeah,
all of that. It wasn't fun. And I think that's like almost part of why I hated school so much was it was just
sure.
like such a hard adjustment. And the same thing in high school, I wanted to play basketball, but like when I went back to a big public high school, those teams were pre-selected. It was
They're
not
already in the
even
system, kind of.
yeah. I mean, they literally they picked everybody already. So that was hard. And then it was like going into high school back to a public school. That's even harder. Like your high school years, I feel like are your hardest. And I struggled. I really did. I didn't do well in school. I didn't do well socially. I was big time bullied. Um, I mean, you saw the pictures.
Hey, I was, I joke around all the time, same thing, right? Like I went to South Range, from K through 2, and then Latonia, which is a small school, like 50 some kids in our class at the time, right? And then
Yeah.
in my high school years, I went from 50 some kids to 270, which to me was like, holy moly,
Yeah.
just in my own class, right? And I was kind of the same way, like new kid, always the loser, only had a
Yep.
handful of friends. Like I just joke around all the time, like, it's whatever. Like I met my best friend, still one of my very good friends to this day. He's down here in Columbus and lives about 10 minutes from me. Like, we bonded over, let's jamming out to Queen on the basketball, on the bus to basketball games and stuff, So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
there with you. I
awesome.
get it. I get it.
Yeah. So that was hard. I don't know what else about and then I basically quit sports once I got into high school.
Yeah.
Kind of didn't do anything like extracurricular. That was always kind of like a regret of mine looking back. Like I wish I would have just gotten more involved, gotten out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
done things. Um, but yeah.
So now you graduate, right? And you're going through college, you're trying to find your way, and a couple this various different things. Did you ever end up finishing or
No,
just yeah.
no,
Yeah.
eventually just stopped.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of those things like I look back on, like I said, feel like our age range, our parents, it wasn't, it was kind of the expectation kind of implied type of thing. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I think so many people, and I have my own opinions on school and all that other good stuff. But
Right.
I just think that so many people, go to college and they have no clue, they don't know what they want. And I went for one thing and pivoted, and kind of like you, like upon graduation, I was like, well, they ain't gonna pay me nothing, so I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I got into real estate. So you went through, decided not to finish. Kind of what did you do next?
So I always worked since I was 14. Like as soon as I was able to get a work permit and work, I was working. So I think at the time I like kind of stopped classes was when I was working in retail. I was working at Zales, a jewelry store. So sales, but I didn't think that's what I wanted to do forever. I
Or
really truly like had no idea. And I was working in restaurants, bartending, serving. I was like always had usually more than one job. It's just like I was very hungry, to work and make that next paycheck, quite
yeah,
honestly. So worked and worked. And then I think from like, so 2008 to 2012, I worked for a merchant services company. And
yeah,
basically, they do like credit card processing, gift cards. And I worked in the creative and marketing department. And I think that's when I really started to like get into the marketing type aspect, of things. And
hmm
like, I really enjoyed what I was doing and I was growing. I was interviewing for like a different role at one point in time within the company. And I had that manager like take me on a trip to a convention with him in California. And so I was like, okay, maybe I found, my whatever I was looking
yeah,
for.
yeah,
But it ended up not working out. I wasn't very like, I was happy with some aspects, but, I was still low man on the totem pole, so I wasn't making very much, and I was still bartending, and, I took the leap and left to go work a different sales job, and it was like a door-to-door sales, and that was like, uh, I don't even know why I did that. That
Yeah.
was hard.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I found a temp job with American Greetings, the greeting card
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
and I absolutely loved that. I was working on their website, one of their websites, like on the back end, and I loved the environment. Um, I loved everybody that I worked with. It was very like laid back, no pressure, not the corporate type world you
Yeah.
would think.
Were you kind of on the creative side or no?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Again, so like kind of sticking with that whole like creative marketing
Yeah.
type thing. And I was let go from there because they were making cutbacks. They were like selling the building they were in and trying to build this nice new huge building. And so temp to hire didn't end up working. Again, always fell back on my bartending. So, I never like not had a job. Um, and then actually from there, so to end of 2014 was when I started working for a local top real estate agent and her team. And I had actually interviewed for the job, I think a year prior, but they ended up hiring somebody else. And when they moved her into a new position, then they brought me back
Nice.
to
Nice.
interview. So, um, did the admin thing, and they were like, I just kept taking on more responsibilities. I'm like, let me do this, let me do that. I was
Yeah.
again just like super eager, and real estate was not ever anything I had any idea about. My parents sold one home, and it was in 2008. So,
Yeah.
like, right when the market took a crap. And, so I didn't really have any experience with that. But so my role just kind of kept growing. I started taking the pictures for her listings. I convinced her to buy like a really nice camera and took some classes like at the Dodd camera place. And so I was doing that, a lot of open houses, but those kind of sucked until I got licensed because I couldn't talk, like
Yeah. Right.
you can't say anything when you're not licensed.
Right.
So it was really just holding the door open. But so then I got licensed, and let me tell you, this is embarrassing, but I'm real, so I'll tell you. I failed my test 6 times.
I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome. It's one of those things like everyone's always like, "Oh man, I failed." I'm like, "Look, it doesn't matter because once you get that license, once you get that number and you're good to go, whatever they taught you in school doesn't even matter." I mean,
Yep.
it matters, right?
Right.
But it doesn't matter, right? Like
Yeah.
we don't know definitions that they taught us. We don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But so when you first got started into
Mhm.
real estate, were you still doing the bartending on the side?
Yep.
And then you've had and it's funny because I always typically ask like why real estate, right? And I'm always curious of like what made you get into it. And for you, it just you were just looking, right, for a job or any job, right? Just to
Yeah.
try something new. And it seems like that's what you've done throughout your whole life, right? Is I'm always searching, looking, what do I want to do? And um, it's funny because I think bartenders, waitresses, waiters, you guys already have half of the gift that you need, and that's to be able to
Yep.
connect with complete strangers and build that instant relationship, right?
Yep.
Make them feel comfortable. And the hard part, though, and is when you guys watch this Denise's story on here, I always say the hard part is overcoming that lifestyle
Yep.
and, the late nights
Yep.
go into the early mornings, which then means you're sleeping in, which means you're not, focusing on the real estate stuff. But
Yep.
it sounds like you had more of a structured 9 to whatever admin spot to start. So you're taking on more roles, right? And then you go to take your test. Walk me through
Yeah.
this. Walk me through the mindset, because I think this is important, right? Like, because the real estate test is challenging, right? Because no one
Yep.
knows exactly what's going to be on it. Like, we have an idea, right? But every test is different. And I know a lot of people, like I know people right now that are going through it, and if they've taken it several times. What was the mindset behind it, and what made you want to keep going and keep trying?
So I think I was in the industry per se for about a year, year and a half before I started school. And I had to do at the time, I was working full time in the office, I was working part time at the bar, and then part time school. And it was like 12 weeks long, I think. And it was every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So, and then every other day, every other evening, I was bartending, so it was a lot, but I just kept my eye on the prize, and I knew I felt like I could be very successful in this career, and I knew that, once I got to that point, that all the other stuff wouldn't matter. I'd be able to let the bartending go, and
Yeah.
I'd be able to, just do this full time. Um, but what threw me off when I was testing, I think honestly, was the amount of time I was in the industry, because I just kept trying to relate everything on the test to something I had experienced.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was in my head too much, I think. So,
Backwards.
yeah.
You,
Um,
it's so funny. We have so many similarities. I mean, I don't even know it, because I don't know your full story, right?
yeah, yeah.
But we have so many similarities. Like, same thing, right? Like, I graduated from college, was my team lead's admin, who I'm still with. He
Hmm.
paid me weekly to do that stuff. I did classes during the summer on the weekends from 8 to 5:30 every single weekend, the whole summer, which was sucked.
Yeah.
That means no fun on the
Yep.
weekends.
Mhm.
And then, but it was the same thing. See, but I think what helped me though was understanding a little bit more from being in the real estate. Now, I
Yep.
was I was only in at that point 3-4 months before I started classes, where you had a year and you actually saw how real estate operated and what went down, and the realness of our industry, as opposed to, here's what you need to know to pass the test.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot, but so like I slowly, very slowly transitioned, probably over the course of about 2 years. So 2017 was my first year licensed in January, and I was still full time as an admin. And then my second year was 2018, and I doubled my production, and I was still full time at the um, as the admin, but I was slowly making my way throughout the course of that year away from the admin role.
Yeah.
And then 2019, I was totally full time as an agent. I would help out at the front desk here and there if they really needed it, but
Right.
and then 4 months into 2019, I like pulled the trigger and went out on my own, and I left the team and went out as an independent agent. And that was it's not for everybody. I'm not trying to like encourage everyone to do this, because it really isn't for everybody.
Right.
But it was the best decision for me.
Yeah.
Um, the At the time, my boss liked everyone to be in the office. You know, at 5 to 6, maybe even more days a week if you know, wanted to. And, you know, she was just a very I see it now. Why? You know,
Right.
like, because you
Right.
have to have that structure. But the office life just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know, that 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or, you know, and every other Saturday, like, it just I didn't like it. So, I wanted a little bit more freedom, but I think honestly probably last year, maybe, yeah, somewhere in there, like right when we started the whole clubhouse thing, that is really what helped me really stay structured and have a routine and a schedule, you know, because I told myself I was going to be, you know, up and ready to go by 8 a.m. every day, you know, Monday
Yeah.
through Friday. And um, it's definitely hard, that aspect of it, because, you know, everyone gets into this, I feel like, wanting the freedom. They don't like working 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but the reality is, like, you kind of have to still, you know, like,
Yeah.
you gotta have that structure. Otherwise, it's easy to lose it. You know, you
Yeah.
start waking up late. And, you know, with the bartending, I think my last time bartending was St. Patty's Day of last year. So, like, I was still doing it last year. But even if it was just one shift, it would throw my schedule off for like the next 2 or 3 days, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm sleeping and then trying to get back on my schedule. And so I eventually pulled the plug on it. And you're so right when you said, you know, people in that industry are, you know, I think typically very successful in real estate. I always tell people who are still in it, I'm like, just
Yeah.
pull the plug, like, pull the trigger, quit the bar.
Well, it's the thing of, like, you guys got to fight in that industry. It's the fast money versus the long term money, right?
Yep.
Like, I can, and it's more of a mindset, and that's why I say it's a lifestyle. But it's really more the like, I know I can pick up a shift and make $100, or I know I can pick up a shift and make $200, or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
But what they don't understand is, like, what you just said, right? Like, the last time I did it, it set me back 2 or 3 days, because now I just threw my whole daily, sleep schedule off and all that other stuff. And now you're behind. And then that's what snowballs everything. And then, like you mentioned, and I don't think a team's for everyone. And I don't think being a solo agent is for
Yep.
everyone either. And I think, like you said, most people get into the business because they typically want, one of three things. They want more money, right, than their other job or other career. They want more time available, right? Or they want more flexibility within their day.
Yeah.
But you can have those things, but you have to be strategic with that. You can have all of them if you want it, but you have to be strategic and create leverage. But the most successful people in our business, they wake up and they tell themselves what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And most people that come from a different career are tired of being told what to do, when to do, and how to do, right?
Yep.
And it's just funny that you brought that up, and it's great that you realize that a team in the 9 to 5, and if you're on a team, you don't have to be 9 to 5, right? But that just wasn't working or going to work with you long term.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I I loved too being able to, like, brand myself,
Yeah, the
you
creative,
know.
right? Going back to the creative.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was just it, and that's I love it. Like, and it's what I get feedback on constantly from people. They're like, "Oh my God, you're doing so good. Like, I love seeing you on social media." Like, you know, and it like fuels me
Did
almost, you
you have
know.
any of that growing up? Like, were you artsy or like anything like that?
I was definitely like more into the artsy stuff, I think, than other people. I wasn't like super artsy, but there's definitely I always like was crafting like that whole aspect.
Yeah, my
And
brain
that's
doesn't work that way. Like, I saw that, was it a reel or a TikTok today where you're like stab the apple with the fork and they're like the transitions and like all that other stuff. Like that's like I don't even think about that. Like I'm
Well,
like,
listen, I actually stabbed that apple. There was no transition.
oh, there wasn't.
No, I threw it
Oh,
up and stabbed it.
all right. Well, if you guys go on, it's on your Instagram, right?
It's on Instagram and TikTok, and I put it on Facebook.
I will go find Lindsay on the social platforms and, go back, a couple weeks or so and find this because by the time you watch it, it might be a couple weeks ago, but
Yeah,
go find that video because it was skilled because I thought you transitioned it. So the
so
fact
did
that you
everybody.
didn't, the fact that you didn't is even better. So,
I got so many phone calls from people today about that. They're like, "Wait, did you really do that?" And I'm like, "Yes."
and that's what you want, right? In real estate, that's what you want, right? Someone reaching out to you, anyone reaching out to you because of that stuff. But I
Yep.
wanted to get to when you decide to go from, admin having a secured paycheck for the most part,
Mhm.
bartending, knowing that you can go and get money, pretty much whenever you wanted to pick up a shift, to, all right, I'm going to become a real estate agent. Right. And now I'm going, and I know you did kind of blend of some of that in
Mhm.
between. So it's not like you did a fresh like cut, but I'm always curious, did you have any doubters? Did you have supporters? Because I find that, some people carry the doubters and that's like their chip on their shoulder to go prove them wrong. Some people are like, hey, I had a bunch of supporters around me and they were the ones that helped me keep going. And, I'm always just curious about that as far as, if anyone like you knew was like, are you sure? Like, you're going 100% commission. You sure you're making the right decision?
Yeah. So I definitely had a few doubters that were kind of in the background, not like super public, but
Sure.
I knew that they were there, you know. And I think that honestly really fueled me,
Yeah.
to just prove them wrong. Um and tons of supporters, tons. I mean, they way outweighed the doubters. And honestly, like my parents are my biggest cheerleaders. Like my mom is a saint and she is like my little promoter. Always has like my business cards on her, like my branded pens. She has everything and she like almost weekly tells me about how she told somebody new, like, and they might be reaching out. So my parents were huge. And my dad is, like I said, they were always good with money. So when I was like thinking about it, me and my dad sat down and like crunched the numbers of what it would take, for me to be able to do this on my own, literally like how much I had to make,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had a lot of supporters. And then even the bar. So the bar was huge for me. I would say I probably got at least 25-30% of my business from the bar in my
Yeah.
first year. My regulars, my coworkers, and every time I would step behind the bar, people would be like, "How's real estate doing? How are you doing? It looks like you're doing great. Like, tell me about the market. And so that was huge too, because even like these people who aren't necessarily in my life per se are hugely supporting me. So that was a big thing. Having that support system was huge because it is absolutely nerve-wracking. I had a little bit different of a situation at the team that I was on. We were paid small salaries and
Okay.
a lower commission.
Yeah.
So that was like a security blanket, so when I pulled that plug, it was really like, okay, you're going from getting a check every week to literally nothing.
Yeah.
um, but like I
How
said,
how did you, because I think this is important, and a lot of people transition from a different career, and I think a lot of people struggle with this. How did you get your bar regulars and your coworkers to look at you as Lindsay, the real estate agent, and not Lindsay, the bartender? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, right? Because whether you're a nurse or a bartender or coming from the corporate world or whatever the case, like they're so used to you being
Yep.
over here. Did you do anything differently to let them see you as a real estate agent first, and the bartender now is just there to help me get to becoming a full-time real estate agent?
Yeah, so, that part honestly was pretty hard in my mind. I
Yeah.
never got feedback from anybody that was like, "Oh, were you doing this full time?" Or, none of that ever. I think it was honestly more just all in my head. I couldn't get out of my head, like, because when I worked at the bar, I obviously would want to post that I'm going to be at the bar so
Yeah.
people can come in and spend their money. And, the bar obviously liked when we did that as well. But I'm like, well, I don't really want this on my page because I don't want people to think I'm, just bartending again. So it
Right.
was quite a bit of internal struggle. But honestly, a lot of the times, like when I would gain, regulars and stuff, we became connected on social media, almost instantaneously. And I guess I'm just a stalker like that. But
Well, I was going to ask, right? So, Ryan Moody, who I think as well
yeah,
as I know, on Rhiannon Ferrari's team and the Ferrari home group. Um, he has the gift of bringing up real estate and into some way into the conversation. Was it something like, did you have a script like, hey, like you've been coming in? Obviously, it's not like this, right? But it's like, oh, this person's been coming back fairly regularly. Let me ask them for their Facebook, or let me ask them for their Instagram. Or did you just send them like the friend request or the follow or whatever?
yeah. So like, I feel like it was a little bit of both ways. Sometimes I would be the initiator, and then
Yeah.
other times it was like, I just always got the friend request. But Um, be totally honest, at a certain point in time, I got to the point where I literally, every time I was bartending, had a stack of business cards in my back pocket, and I would leave them with everybody's check. Whenever I gave them a check, like it was, there's my business card. And so if we didn't talk about real estate while they were there, it then sparked the conversation because they're like, wait, you're a realtor too?
Yeah.
Um, and so that really, really helped me. I totally forgot what I was going to say in reference to that. So I always worked it in the conversation too, kind of like
Yeah.
Ryan. Like whenever people would come to the bar, I wasn't there, honestly, in those years of me being a full time agent. I wasn't there a whole lot.
Yeah.
So people were more seeing me on social media posting all the time.
Sure.
So when I did go into the bar, they'd be like, excited to see me. And they always asked me, how are you doing? How are you doing? Like, how's real estate going? Everybody was always so interested. So that really helped. And then, when you're having a conversation about something and you're, a foot away from the next person, they're bound to hear you, and that kind of
Right.
would spark that next conversation. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm kind of like Ryan in that aspect. I work it into every conversation.
Well, I mean, I think it's so important, right? Because you have to get them to think of you in a different position now, a different,
Yeah.
a different light, whatever you want to call it. And I think
Mhm.
some people struggle with that. Either they're afraid to say that they're in real estate, they're afraid to admit that they're making a career move, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I think it's super important to kind of make sure that your sphere. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Your sphere
Yeah.
knows exactly what's going on, in your life, not just in your business, but in your life. So,
Yeah. There was a saying that one of my mentors always told me in the beginning, and then it really stuck, was you can't be a secret agent. And so I really took that to heart, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to be a secret agent. Like my Facebook is not going to be super personal anymore. Like it's mainly for work, but I was okay with that. And like I still trickle in, personal stuff cuz that's just who I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just threw everything into what I already feel like I knew how to do was, market, be creative, social media, that sort of stuff. And that really, really helped.
No, that's awesome. So you transition into full-time real estate, right? And this was, you said 2018
Like 4 months into 2019.
into 2019.
Mhm.
What did you have initial struggles? Did you have instant success? Kind of walk me through those first, really the first couple years of you being on your own.
So 2019 was actually my best year in real estate as far as volume. Um, I was, I would say half and half of the year. So it was like almost equal, split down the middle what I did that year, but half of it was from the team that I was
Mhm.
on and the transactions that were still closing there. And then the other half of the year was just me. Um, but that and I think that's what helped me to not discourage me was that I had such a great year that
Mhm.
year that, I went out on my own. And then the next year was 2020. And we all know, how that year went. And so it was definitely nerve wracking all the time. And I feel like we always battle that.
Mhm.
It's like one, worried about the next deal, but it's a mindset thing. You got to like get out of that. It's if you follow the steps and you're doing the work, the rest will fall into place.
Yeah.
And I think with 2020, I just really, I really even more dove into social media as if I wasn't before. But
No, I mean, it's falling in love with the process and believing that when you do the right things, the right results will come. There's a
yeah,
book called The Power of Consistency, and I think the author's name is Weldon Long. If you guys haven't read that, go pick it up. It's a pretty easy read. I like books like this one because it's like a simple concept, and it's just that
yep,
you can't do the right things and get the wrong results.
yep,
It's gonna happen.
yep,
Just whether or not you believe that it's going to happen and give it enough time for it to happen.
yeah, absolutely.
So we're up to 2020, 2021, right? You come to the NAE event, you're jumping now on Clubhouse, right? You're starting to see that routine that you probably didn't like the previous years, which is partly why you probably left the team, but now you're starting to see some of that importance of it, right? You're starting to
Yeah.
build momentum, into 2021, going into 2022. Now I want to kind of look into the future.
Hmm.
What is something that you're looking to accomplish, personal and or professional, in the next 12 months?
So I had a lot of big things I wanted to accomplish in 2021 and super proud to say that I did. I bought my first house.
Yay.
That was like, I was in a rental and I was there only because it was so cheap. I mean, stupid cheap, under $700 a month. And like, I just couldn't pass it up. And
Yeah.
so but I got to the point where I was like miserable. And, you always get that question like, oh, you're a real estate agent and you don't own a home. And I'm like, well, it's not that easy. Like,
Yeah.
when you go out on your own, then it was the battle of having 2 years of being a 1099. And
Right.
anyway, so going forward, I do have lots of goals. I don't know, like, so this year personally, Leadership Academy is my current, like, where, my head is at. Um, really trying to dive into that program and then complete it by the end of the year. So that's a big one for me. And it's something I just had my first session. I just ended it on Tuesday. So, just a few days ago. And it's like I don't know. It's just amazing. I really can't say enough about it. So that I think is really gonna help me. I always say like take my career to the next level, but like it's so true,
Right.
it's all
Stepping
about.
stones.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like my big thing for this year that I would like to accomplish. I do have bigger, so I haven't been able to get to that 2019 production number or volume number. So that's my goal for this year because I want to get back to it,
Yeah.
and not that like I beat myself up, I guess, because that was like my best year and then I haven't
Sure.
quite been able to attain it yet. So that's kind of my goals for this year. I'd say in the next, I don't even know. I don't even want to say a time limit because I feel like that just puts too much
Well, I was
pressure.
going to
But
ask, what do you want to do in 5 years?
yeah,
Right.
so I would really like to have a team. And even if it's just a team of like one other agent, just I feel like I need somebody else if I really want to scale to the
Yeah.
next level. So 3 to 5 years, I would definitely say I would really like to have a team of some sort to
Yeah.
really help me.
And there's just so many different ways you can build a team, right? It could be more staff heavy, support heavy, right? To just
Yeah.
let you really focus on what you want to do. Or it could be the other way, right? Maybe you're more agent heavy, and leveraging out that way.
Yeah. I haven't
Um,
really decided like which direction I want to go in, but I think, like the first step would probably be like some sort of TC or VA, something like that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
I don't know.
VA is interesting. Obviously, that's something that we're implementing on our side of things and something that, we're really diving into to learn more about. So, I
Yeah.
say team, it's just not, oh, let's build a team of real estate agents, right?
Yep.
Your mom's your promotion team,
I know.
like you should be paying her a salary.
I told her, so my mom retired 2 years ago and she's so bored. And I'm like, Mom, get your real estate license and come help me. I'm like, you can show houses, like, you'll love it. She came out of retirement and went back to her job. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen now.
That's so funny. So what do you think? So, okay, team's kind of like on the 5 year or so plan.
Yeah.
What do you think you need to do or focus on in order to make that a reality?
I guess that's where I struggle because I don't really know. Like I think I know I need to put more into what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I need to put more into like building my CRM even more, building my sphere even more
Yeah,
because I feel like once I put more into that, the rest will kind of come
yeah,
as it should,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah. There's a guy that he's a coach that I follow who got brought into my world from my coach and people that I'm around, and his name's Coach Michael Burt. And I don't know if you've seen any of his videos, but one thing that stands out to me that he said, and he'll say repeatedly, is you don't have a money problem, you have a people problem. You need to
Mhm.
go find more people. And when you find more people, then the money will come, essentially,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and sometimes when you bring on that other agent, maybe they're not brand new, right? Maybe they're more experienced. Like now you guys, and depending on structure, right, or whatever, just think about all that database that they're bringing with them.
Right.
Right? Like so many people, I think that they have to have the database or whatever just for them to then support everyone else. There's different ways to even structure teams,
Yep.
right? The more people you can bring in, and you're combining, well, you're not combining databases, but let's just say this agent brings a database of, 200 sphere of influence. This person brings a database of 500 sphere of influence, right? And now you're teaching them how to actually tap into it and maximize it. I
Yep.
think will help, that would help you, project and go further faster. So
Yeah, absolutely.
no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I know we're getting close to time. Um, and I want to respect your time, but I always like to end with this question. And it could be about starting out or currently. But if you could give our audience one piece of advice that you wish you had, again, either when you first started or now, what would that be?
So I think, and this is going to be kind of like a few layers, so I
No,
apologize,
no, you're
but
good.
um, one of the things, like looking back on, everything in my real estate career, at least, I wish I would have networked more, and not necessarily like, with lenders or title companies, like, but find mentors and find people who are going to be that positive influence on your life. Because what was huge for me, in it was either 2020 or 2021, I can't remember. I started working out with a personal trainer, and that was always important to me, but I didn't really do it consistently.
Hmm.
So for me, getting that, um, meeting her, really getting back into physical fitness, because that like boils over into your professional life so much. Like if you, and this is just my opinion, if you aren't working out and, getting those endorphins and everything, this career will chew you up and spit you out. Like I just feel like you have to have that balance. So it meeting her, she also introduced me into gratitude and positive affirmations. And that was huge because it's so easy to get caught up in the negative in this career. So, focusing on what's important and what you do have already. Read like all of the books. That was huge for me last year when we started doing the book club within Clubhouse, because there were just so many things that resonated with me that I was reading in these books. And I'm just like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. Like as I kept reading more books, I'm like, oh my God, this is so important. So that was huge for me. Surround yourself with all the good people, all the positive people, all the knowledgeable people, do all the classes, not just the fun events and stuff you go to, but the stuff where you can learn. Um, One big thing I started doing last year was really not listening to music as much as I used to. And I listen to audiobooks. It's just constantly, you can't ever stop or plateau. You have to constantly be growing, evolving, learning. And that I think was huge. And again, it all comes back to like the structure and the schedule. I get up early, I work out, I do my gratitude, my affirmations, I read, and then I start my work day, and that allows me to have my evenings totally to myself. And again, it's all about finding the balance in this career, in my opinion. So that was huge for me. Those are the few things I would say, to a new agent or somebody thinking about it.
Yeah, and I co-sign everything that you just said. Yeah. I mean, I the only time I really listen to music in the car is if my wife's with me, right?
Mhm.
But for the most part, I'm the same way. Podcasts really for me, or being
Yeah.
on Clubhouse. Audiobooks for me don't really work if I'm driving. But you're right. Making sure you put yourself in that environment where you're around people that are going to help you grow. And part of that environment, and I believe you didn't even do a lot of reading before
No, I hated
last
it.
year. Yeah. And I
I
was the
hated
same
it.
way. I was the same way about, I don't know, 5 years ago. I mean, I kind of, did a book here and there, and now it's like, boom, I'm done with one, on to the next,
Yep.
and,
There's
always,
just
because your business and personally in your business it's either growing or it's dying.
yep,
Which one do
absolutely.
you want it to be?
Yep,
Right? Because those are the only two choices.
yep. And there's so many people in this world who just have like a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you know they start writing these books and it's just like, holy cow, like this person knows it all. Not really, but like they know the keys to success, so
Yeah.
that was huge. Start picking up books. That was a big thing for me.
Yeah, and it's like, we don't have to invent it, right? Let's
Mm-mm.
just copy it and follow it.
Yep.
That's all we do, right? Just copy
Yeah,
and follow.
the best copycat wins.
That's right. That's
Somebody
right.
told me that phrase once.
No, that's awesome. I might have to steal that one.
Yeah.
Steal that one. Well, Lindsay, I really appreciate your time today and coming on here and really, diving into your story and sharing your experience, before real estate and getting into real estate and kind of what you're doing now. Those that have been watching, can see Lindsay put her phone number down below. So, if you guys are if you connected with Lindsay's story, if you want to reach out to her, if you're a real estate agent, reach out to her. If you are a buyer or seller, in the Medina, greater Cleveland area, make sure you guys reach out to her. She's there to help you. She's an
Absolutely.
expert real estate advisor. Um, but Lindsay, if someone's just listening into the podcast, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Definitely my cell phone. I mean, I check all social medias, but text, call, whatever works. I just, Facebook messages, I feel like sometimes get lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely cell phone.
Give them
Um,
the digits.
yes, 440. It's so many fours, it's so easy. 440-665-4442.
Lindsay, again, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story. And I'm glad that we were able to connect last January, and
Absolutely.
I can now call you my friend, and I'm
Absolutely.
excited to watch your real estate journey continue to go and grow.
Thank you. And I seriously can't thank you enough, John, because you're an amazing person. You're an amazing mentor. I I feel like I wouldn't be as successful if I honestly hadn't come in contact with you, because you just created this amazing community through Clubhouse, and it's touching so many lives. So, thank
Yeah.
you.
No, I mean, you're welcome. It takes two, right? Like one to give, and the other person needs to receive.
Yep.
Right. And I think, part of my mission is and this, but part of my mission is to really make an impact on our industry, because I think it's broken. I think
Yes.
it's wrong. And, um, you know, this is the type of stuff that needs to be happening, right? The conversations, like sharing
Yep.
the stories, right? Talking about the struggles, talking about, the mindset behind why, I did this or, did that, or whatever the case may be. And then the best copycat wins, right? Like, there's no one is inventing new stuff in our industry, right? Like, we're all taking it from different pieces or
Yep.
things that we're learning, right? And yeah, there's maybe something new here and there, but it's not like anything's like poof, like, oh, this is the
Right.
best thing ever, like.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, it takes two, right? And that's why I always tell agents, like, surround yourself with people that are going to show you exactly what they did to be successful,
Yep.
right? And have that growth mindset. And then hopefully, you on the other end, if you guys are listening or watching, like, you on the other end are open to receiving that information.
Absolutely. So important,
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome, Lindsay. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. And I know you're up in the snow belt area. So I know you guys got pummeled with snow here recently. So
I'm going to Florida in 2 days.
There
I'm
you go.
done.
There
I'm
you
done
go.
with this place.
She's out. All right, Lindsay. Thank you again.
Thanks again, John.